Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. Our next guest is the incredible force, both on-screen and off, with his CBS show Instinct that just wrapped critically beloved off-Broadway play Daddy, and now here to talk about the next entry in his children's book series, Honey and Leon. Honey and Leon Take the Road. Please welcome Alan Cumming.
Thank you.
Hi. Thank you so much for being here.
Nice to see you, Ricky.
This is number 2.
Yes.
In the series. The first one was Honey and Leon's
The Adventures of Honey and Leon.
The Adventures of Honey and Leon, excuse me. Talk to me about this one.
Well, this time, it's a story about two dogs who bear a remarkable resemblance to my own previous two dogs, and in fact, they have the same name, and they have two dads who bear a remarkable resemblance to me and my husband. And so basically it's about, because my dogs, my husband and I used to travel so much, well, still do, and we just made up a story that the dogs would were following us in disguise to look after us, protect us. So that's why we started. And then they died. The dogs died. And so we, I know. I don't.
It's a tragic end to part 2.
I don't tell that. I don't tell that when I do kids things. I keep that. And they're like, where are Honey and Leon? I'm like, they're
Dead.
not with us today. But so the dogs, it was like, Grant's an illustrator, my husband, and he would like always draw little paintings for me when I'd go away of the dogs, and when we made up this story for each other, when we'd be away, like, we'd say, oh, Honey is over there in disguise she's got her binoculars. And so then when they died, we kind of formalized it and made it into this thing. So it's, for kids, I think it's nice because it's about when, it's like a sort of secret thing, but the sort of catch is that, or the sort of unusual part is that the dads actually know that the dogs follow them, but they let them because they know that's what dogs are supposed to do, and they let them do their job. So this time we go to Scotland. That's Edinburgh Castle. This is the cover of the book, and this one's all about different types of travel. And then also, Honey has a holiday romance with a sheepdog that she meets on this island, and that happened in real life. Actually, I did this play Bent in London in the West End years ago, and it was really intense. It's this play about gay people in the Holocaust. So it doesn't go well. And after it was finished, we went to Scotland for a holiday, and the dogs came with us. And we were in this old sort of castle hotel, and there was a gardener, and he had a sheepdog called Col who had a sort of spot over one eye. And then Honey and he had a little holiday romance. And so then on Valentine's Day for the next few years, like Grant would make these like Valentine's cards that were supposedly from Col, like, "Oh, lassie, I miss you. But I know you're a downtown New York girl, and I'm a country lad." So we put that into this book, and also because of that, Leon gets a bit jealous. So there's a wee thing about sibling rivalry and stuff. And
is writing these books a way for you and Grant to sort of stay close to Honey and Leon and to hold on to them a bit?
Yeah, I said when the first one came out, how to handle your grief about your dogs dying is write a book and sell it to your friends. And no, it really is. It's a lovely way that their spirit's kind of still going, and it's very much their sort of personalities. We based. I think people who have dogs understand that you get to know your dogs really well and their little quirks. So we've made this book's very much based on them, and also now there's hopefully going to be an animated. We've sold the rights to this animation company. Wow. So we're hoping that will all work out, and they will go on even further.
It's so interesting because so much of your pet's personality is also your perception of them and your sort of like imagined idea of their personality.
So Honey was a grandiose English actress. Yeah. What are you saying? And Leon's a little sort of scrappy guy from Brooklyn. So, yeah.
How long did you have them?
I had Honey from... I got her in 2001, and she died in 2014. So a long time. And I think they were both the same age, and actually it was awful. The last, I would not recommend you to have two dogs the same age if you don't want. It was like a Tennessee Williams play. Death came to our house, the Grim Reaper. We had old age and death for like 3 years, and it's amazing like the lengths you'll go to just deal with that. I mean, Honey. Well, I won't go into it, but we had some really weird sort of living arrangements in order to facilitate just Honey having a nice time in our last, years, because she got old and things happened.
Right, you found yourself in that sort of weird position where you're like, you remember every now and then that it's a dog, but at the same time you're like, I don't care. I love this animal so much.
Totally. I mean, and also, I meant just like things we did in our everyday lives to sort of just make sure she had a nice time when she was in, when she didn't know she was pooping all the time and things like that. You just find yourself sleeping with a plastic sheet over the bed so she can sleep on top of the bed with you. I know, it's so ridiculous, and just things like that. It's like having an old, what happens? Old people poop, and. And also, it was hilarious that she was still quite grand, even in that. Like, she would, because she lost the kind of feeling in her back, sort of legs and everything. So she would poop, and then she would sort of smell something, and she'd go like, "What the hell was that?" Like, really annoyed that someone had and surprised. So but maybe that's the next book. It might be. Keep going.
Honey and Leon surprised themselves with poop.
Yes. Geriatric adventure.
So they passed away, you said, in 2000.
Honey died in 2014 and Leon died in 2015.
And the first book came out last year.
Yeah.
Right? So you and Grant started doing the books just after they passed away, basically. Yeah,
basically.
Wow.
Yeah, it'd always been a thing that we were thinking of doing it, and then when they died, and also because Grant had done this other book called 3 Magic Balloons for Penguin Random House. So they sort of said, "Oh, do you have any other ideas?" And then we sort of mentioned this, so it coincided with that.
And you already had the illustrations, basically, and
it was
stories.
sort of it's a lot of some of the stories and some of the whole idea, the concept had been sort of formed by our kind of little chats we had in hotels around the world about, I saw Honey down by reception. She's dressed as a flamenco dancer, things like that.
Now you've written a memoir, right? Excuse me.
I've written sort of 2 memoirs,
a novel, and now 2 children's books.
Yeah.
And you've written a movie before. You've directed a movie. You act, of course, on theater and in movies. You've done it all. Writing a children's book, did you think it would be easy, and was it hard?
I thought it would be easy, and it's harder than I thought. It's not. It's not a hugely time-consuming thing because there's not that many pages and there's not that many words.
But it's mostly editing then.
Well, yes, it's about trying to say less. It's a really good exercise for a writer actually, because you have to try and say less, and also the story should be in the pictures. So that was a good, and there's a structure to it, but according to the number of pages, and sometimes you have 2 pages, so there's more images, things like that. It's really fascinating. But really it was getting into the structure of a new thing was the biggest challenge for me. And also just like shutting up. And then what I didn't realize was that I gave very detailed instructions to Grant about what I thought should be in each image. Like the dogs do this over here, they come down this hill, blah, blah, blah. Apparently, like other children's book writers don't do that. So I'm like a bossy children's book writer. I didn't know that you're supposed to let the illustrator run free with it.
Really?
Yeah, but not for me.
You and Grant had to have a conversation what was that conversation like?
There was a couple of times where I wrote it, and then ages later, not ages, but, for a much longer time, it takes months and months to do all these paintings. And I would go into his studio, and I'd go, "Oh, you're doing that. You've decided to put that there." Or, "Oh, I see." And there was one time where we got to a point, and it was a thing in the first book, actually. I can't remember what it was. And I heard myself going, "As the writer, I insist." And then, like, "Do you want a cup of tea? I'm going downstairs,"
Caught yourself in your own pretensions for a minute.
Yeah, well, out of my own, of course we must have that picture there, just silly. But it was, I know what it was. Oh, this is so cute, actually. So it was in the first book, we go to the Cannes Film Festival, and there's a thing where Honey and Leon are, all dressed up and peering behind a palm tree at us. And we go onto the red carpet, and there's an actress on the red carpet, and all the photographers are shouting, "Over here, honey, hey, honey, over here, over here." And she thinks it's her, so she goes on the red carpet and poses. And then, obviously, it's all in the newspapers, and so they're trying to make sure that we don't realize they're there. And Grant said he thought it was maybe a bit sexist that all these photographers were calling this woman Honey. And I was like, well, sort of, but that's what happens. And also, it's a kind of major plot point in the book. And our editor was a woman, and I felt like we would have, if it had been a real issue, we would have sorted it out now. But it was supposed to be a funny thing because that was her name. And so he was getting a bit worried about that, and he kind of went into a spiral about it. And that's when I said, "As the writer, I insist." Yeah.
And he was like, "Okay, fine."
Yeah.
In June, your show Instinct is returning for the 2nd season on CBS, right?
Yes.
Oh, hey, there it is. Really, I think this is the first procedural or drama or network
I'll do it
drama.
for you.
Thank you
It's
so
the
much.
first network drama in the history of American television to have a gay character in the lead. There we go. I got you back.
So much better than it's the like way.
It's something on television with gayness in it. What is it?
What was that like to find out that you were getting a second season?
Oh, good. It was great because I feel the second season. Everyone was very tense in the first one because there were so many new things. There was a gay character in the lead. It was a same-sex couple on a procedural TV, a cop show, and the dialogue between me and Bojana Novakovic is sort of more sort of spunky and witty than these shows. There's a lot of things that people were worried about that they thought the audience wouldn't like. And of course, actually, those were the things that the audience liked most and made it different from other shows. So in the second season, everyone relaxed a bit more and I feel it's better. But also, the best thing for me about getting a second season was that I just thought, oh, phew, I haven't been cancelled the first time that I'm the lead in a big show. So the ignominy of being cancelled after the first time was not an issue. So that's what I was most glad about, actually, very selfishly.
When you're doing that first season, and you said that there's a lot of tension, not necessarily on set, but sort of about what's going to work and what's not going to work. You are an executive producer of the show, essentially like one of the kind of a creator of the show, maybe. Not,
sort of. Yes, in at the beginning, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you find yourself fighting a lot of battles, or just like having lots of conversations about things that you felt like were should have just been, lack of a better word, instinctual to the show itself?
A little bit. I mean, yes, because it's more that I would, I'm on the set all the time, so I'm not having conversations with the studio and stuff like that. But I kind of like say to Michael Routh, the showrunner, or to the other producers, like certain things I feel, and then they relay that back. And also, I think it's important to understand your own power in these situations. Obviously, they can cancel the show anytime they like. They may well do that. But when you're actually in the making of it, I think you actually have more, just the day-to-day running of it. And like this is not working. This director didn't gel with the crew, or whatever, or this writing isn't up to scratch. It's things like that. I mean, yeah, and I feel very. There's a responsibility as the leader of a company, in the theatre or on TV, that you have to speak on people's behalf who don't have the opportunity or the power to speak. So I take that very seriously. And mostly I feel like I just want to have fun. I want the crew to have fun. I want it to be it's nice when guest stars come on and they're like, wow, you dance between takes? And we're like, yes, and there's sort of the dolly, with the camera on it, it's basically like a DJ station. There's like a speaker and music, and we all dance in between. And that's become a real thing on the show that the people, when they come on, they can't believe that we're like stepping over dead bodies and dancing.
Are you turning like the in-between takes on Instinct into Club Cumming over there?
It's a little bit like Club Cumming follows me wherever I go. Yeah, so there's a common theme here. But Edgar, the one of the camera operators, he's the main DJ.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I let go. Now and again, I'll take over. I'll suggest a song. Like our sort of song of the last season was, Netta, is it? She won the Eurovision Song Contest for Israel last year. It's a song called Stupid Boy. It's hilarious, and it's just a great dancey song. And do you know what the Eurovision Song Contest is?
Song.
Oh my God, it's so good. I'm not your toy. Oh, it's called Toy. I'm not your toy. I'm not your toy. You stupid boy. You stupid boy. I'm obsessed with it. So everybody had to listen to it a lot.
So what is it? What was it like last year to have the sort of the first network drama with a gay lead? In the midst of this sort of political dynamic, in some ways it feels like entertainment continues to progress and move forward, while at the same time the political entertainment in this world is pulling us back further and further, at least attempting to.
I think, well, you look at, the Supreme Court is going to discuss whether or not LGBT people can be included in the employment rights issue. The employment, I can't remember the exact phrase, but they're actually debating whether gay people being gay is part of, it should be excluded from your normal working rights. Imagine that. That's actually been debated now, or about to be. And so yes, we're going backwards. The trans military ban. Terrible things are happening in this country for LGBT people. Terrible things are happening for many groups, obviously. But I think it's interesting in our culture, certainly in this instance on mainstream television. This thing has happened, and I feel it, for me it's been a really interesting thing because I've done lots of films and things over the years that have just discussed or dealt with subjects relating to LGBT people. Like I did the film about the sort of schism between older gay men and younger gay men because of AIDS, and there's been this missing generation, so there's not a mentor generation. I did a film about adoption and things like that. But what I found is that most of the people who would see those films are LGBT people, or those that love them, or people who go to film festivals, or just people who chance upon them. And now in Instinct, I'm able to have millions of people, millions and millions of people see a same-sex couple for the first time, just in their living rooms, and I think that's, to me, really, really important, because I think that the problem I think we have in this country is that there's a lot of bigotry being condoned or validated. And actually, bigotry is just when people are afraid of something or ignorant of something. And when you present it to them in an unscary way, they accept it and get used to it, and then it's not a problem for them anymore. And that's what I feel we can do with Instinct. Like there's millions and millions of people who have seen a same-sex couple at home, and it's not been a big deal. There hasn't been a backlash. People just think, and actually, they're rooting. I go places and they go, "Oh, we really hope you get to adopt your baby with your husband," things like that.
Well, they get to actually see them as a story within a show, and not as just a news story or as a news package or a clip, which immediately can become politicized and become one side or the other side of an aisle.
Yes.
Within Instinct, you and your partner in the show are characters, and you're telling a story, and you're also part of this procedural in every episode.
It's also the "and also" thing, which I think is really important. All these other things are happening, and also there's a gay couple. Yes. It's not like there's a gay couple. Careful, everybody. So I think that's an important thing as well. It's about because I sort of I think right now in this country everyone's shouting at each other. The right has got more right, the left has gone more left, and so it's more polarized than ever. And there's only these two major parties, so it's this very team sport like political environment. So, and everyone's just sort of screaming across this sort of valley of murk. And I think actually nobody's going to change their mind when you scream at them. You have to actually reach out and talk to them and speak quietly and just kind of try to understand their point and hopefully get your point across.
Well, speaking of politics, you're hosting a fundraiser for a rising political star in the Democratic Party right now, Pete Buttigieg. Mm-hmm. What spawned that, and what made you want to do that? I really like him, and actually, I think my favorite thing about him is the way he talks to people. I think he doesn't have these sort of. He has a very nice ability to talk quietly and to listen and to seem reasonable. And that's really important for people to feel that they're not being hectored or lectured, and that also they are not just getting a prepared political, information package. I think he's got a really great manner, and I think I'm very, very keen on him. I think he's very interesting to me about a whole new sort of wave. He's inspiring in the way that Obama was. He has that kind of leadership quality. He's also incredibly intelligent. He has already, done great things in South Bend. He's a Midwesterner. He's served his country. I think he ticks a lot of boxes. There's also the box, of course, that he's gay, which I think is, and also as well. And I think what's fascinating to me that many of those other boxes kind of counter what the gay box might have been a problem in the past. So I think actually the gay thing, I'm really glad that the gay thing is either not an issue or it's kind of celebrated. And look at this lovely sort of geeky married couple of men who are really charming, and they're very, great public servants. Do you worry at all? Because I know that you're obviously not a Trump supporter, and you would like to see Trump out of office. As would I. Do you worry at all about electability? I have found quite often when I talk about my favorite primary candidate, people are like, well, they can't beat Trump. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm talking about the primaries right now. And they say, well, you should be considering Joe Biden or something because he can really beat Trump. And I'm like, I don't know if that's true.
I do worry about that. I really do. I think I'm horrified by the idea that Trump would get in again. I was horrified when Bush got in again, but I'm more horrified about Trump because I think it's actually more dangerous. There's more danger. There will be more danger to minorities, and not just minorities, actually. There'll be more danger to people that are not white men in this country if he gets in again, because he will continue to validate and engender this feeling of supremacy for those people. But I also think that, this country is fascinating in that it's in a crazy state right now in terms of the way this government's been run, the fact that this, obviously quite deranged in my opinion. I love hashtag deranged Donald, by the way.
Sure you do. I think it's your pinned tweet.
I love it. But also, incredible changes can happen incredibly quickly. And like from Obama to Trump, what a huge swing to the other side of the spectrum. But I feel that, so I am aware that electability, it worried me last time about Hillary Clinton, and it turns out I was right. But with right now, I feel like with Biden, last time I was very much for Bernie, but with Biden, Bernie, even with Elizabeth Warren, I hate to say, who I love very much, I just feel they are too old. And I hate to be ageist, but this is a young person's job. And I think what's interesting in this country right now is that young people are the ones who are actually going to control this next election. And I interviewed Cynthia Nixon recently for a thing in my bar.
She's the best.
Love her. And she said this interesting thing that when she was running for governor, the more younger a voter was, the more likely they were to vote for her, which is more left, more progressive, more compassionate. And I feel that's something we've got to really listen to. I think young people today, there's more of them, and they are more likely to be voting in a way that is about our future rather than in the short term, because they're going to have to deal with it. So I also feel that, Biden, it's saying he's the front runner. There's a long way to go. And I feel I'm not going to support him. I'm not going to support Bernie, even much as I love the things that Bernie espouses. I just feel it's a young person's job. And I think that we need to show to younger people in that we take that seriously. And actually, it's not just someone in their 70s taking over the running of an entire country. That's not, you wouldn't do that in a company.
Yeah, I don't trust a person in their 70s with the remote control for the
No. Ditto, and I read this really interesting article in the newspaper about, how your brain, things happen to your brain as you get older. You forget certain, it's happening to me. I'm only 54. So you need to be on it if you're the president of the United States. And we are seeing right now what happens when you're not on it. And the idea that all these aides are running around not doing the things that the president has told them to do because they're so terrified, and he doesn't seem to notice or he forgets. That's the country we're living in right now. It's ridiculous. It's insane. So I think we need to have someone that we feel is in control and calm and reasonable and kind.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hear it. We have a question coming in from Twitter. It's Alan. Alan, how does it feel to have an N64 game with your face in it? Hashtag GoldenEye.
It's hilarious. Gosh, look at me. When
Is that you?
That's me, apparently, yeah. A little bit like Harry Potter, who I'm going to do a play with. But when it came out like I did this film in like the mid-90s or something, and it came out shortly after that. And it was before these days when if you do a film and you're in a video game and you promote it and all that. It was one of those early things. No residuals. And I had an assistant at the time called Landon, and I was at someone's house and their kids were playing in this, and they said, "Oh, you're in this game." I was like, "What?" And I sort of, played myself, and that was kind of an unusual experience. And I went back to my house and I said, "Oh gosh, Landon, I'm in a video game. And you can be me." And he goes, "Oh, I know that. If you piss me off, I go home and I shoot you in the balls." Because you can apparently shoot me in the balls and still get to the next level for something like this. Making my testicles not work does not mean defeat you in the game, which is an interesting thing.
I mean, if we're going down memory lane with you for a minute, I can't remember if I talked to you about this last time I was here or you were here, but I had recently seen Eyes Wide Shut, and I had forgotten that you had this amazing scene in it,
Yeah.
which like so much of Eyes Wide Shut kind of comes out of nowhere, and you are kind of hitting on Tom Cruise,
Totally hitting on him, yeah.
as he's checking into this hotel room. How long was your shoot on that movie, and what was it like doing that scene?
I shot for a week.
On that one scene?
On one scene, which in a norm, like if it was an Instinct, it would be like, you know,
Half
you'd
a
be
day.
home at 11:30 in the morning. Or maybe lunchtime at the very latest. And with this, it was Stanley Kubrick's last film. Partly because after a couple of days, he decided to shoot it. I mean, it was only Tom Cruise walks in, I'm behind a counter, so there's like a wide shot of us, and then it's close up of me, close up of him, close up of me. I mean, it's very simply done. It's a very simple scene, but you know, I actually loved it because at the time I was a little jaded. I'd made a lot of films, and I was a bit, I don't know, I was in a funny place, and I had taken some time off. And this is the first thing I did when I came back. I was also like, you know, it kept being delayed and delayed and delayed. I was like, you know, I'm being asked to be in a Stanley Kubrick film. I'll wait a couple of weeks. And but when I did it, I actually felt every single take I did, and I loved Stanley. I know a lot of people were scared by him, but we got on really well. Partly because I stood up to him in the first moments we met.
Wait, what happened? Why did you have to stand up to him?
Well, he said, so I'd never met him. I did all these auditions, and it was always for producers, and I did it on tape and everything. And I walked onto the set, and there's, you know, Stanley Kubrick and Tom Cruise there, and I'm the new boy, and they've been shooting for like a year. Yeah. And I walk in, and I go, hello. I'd met Tom before. I was like, hello, Stanley, I'm Alan. And he went, you're not American. I was like, I know, Stanley, I'm Scottish. And he went, you're American on the tape. And I went, yeah, that's because I'm an actor, Stanley. I was like,
He apparently loved attitude. Like that's what he really liked, was people who would play with him like that.
Yeah, it was. He did. I mean, I think it's interesting. I stood up to him, and another thing I did as well. Like I saw him really enjoying that I was someone who would stand my ground and was not intimidated. Yeah. And after that, we really did get on like a house on fire, and we kind of kept in touch afterwards. And what I loved is that we did millions of takes. But I never did a take where I didn't know what I was trying to achieve in the next one. And that was so amazing to me, because often, you know, you hear this if you're an actor in films and stuff, they go, that was perfect, one more. And you think, well, why? If it was perfect, why are we doing it again? And you just often do it again and again, and you don't understand why. Maybe they don't explain to you that there's some technical thing, I don't know. But with him, he made a point where somebody's played it back, and he said, see there, that gesture, try and do. It was so precise, and it made me realize that, you know, it's a tiny part in this film, but there are no tiny parts, and even the tiniest role can be so nuanced and so detailed, and it kind of reinvigorated my love of acting, actually.
I love that part. I love that scene because it's such a big character in this very tiny moment in the movie.
So over the top, and I kept saying, I mean, me saying to Stanley Kubrick, I think I'm going too far, and he was like, no, go on, give it another go. I mean, there's some terrible things. I do this size thing about it's like I say they came like so these people have come in the middle of the night, and Tom Cruise is asking me about them, and I say to them like, oh yeah, they came in, they were big guys. I mean, I was like, why am I making like a penis reference in the middle? And then it's like sort of giggle, and
because it's like Tom Cruise's character's weird erotic dream where everybody's like talking,
everyone's hitting on him,
the midst of this sexual fantasia.
And also, I think actually that's one of the reasons why that scene was so memorable. The film's not like a bundle of laughs, so it's a kind of a funny scene. But also, you know, all the kind of the baggage that Tom Cruise brought to it, and the rumors around him and his sexuality, and then here he is just standing like this, and I'm just like salivating all over him. That kind of added to the whole thing, you know.
I think I have a couple questions in our audience. Who's a question? Who's a right here? Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
My name's Carol. A few years ago, you did the Scottish play, which was marvelous,
Thank you.
absolutely phenomenal, and you did it in your Scots accent. Now, sitting behind us during the intermission, there was a couple of women who said, you know, he does a Scots accent very well for an American. And I'm like, meanwhile, we're just rolling in our seats knowing the actual truth about you. How do you, you know, handle the various accents and trying to, you know, get people to okay, I'm portraying somebody with a German accent, cabaret, you know, the Scottish accent, an American accent, which you did quite well in Good Wife. How do you get this
It's just,
settled?
you know, I think actually for American people, it seems much more of a big deal and a crazy accomplishment, much more than it actually is. I feel, especially being an actor not from this country, and being from Scotland, like from very early on, I was told and realized that I would have to be able to do lots of different accents because there's not that many roles for people who sound like me. I mean, I'm not. I once in a while I'll play someone with my voice. Often when I'm playing myself, I've done that a few times recently. But it's so it was drummed into me very early on that you have to have a good ear for accents and to be able to do accents. So and also that compounded with the fact that I think mostly people who are actors in America tend to use their own voices all the time. You know, I think there's an interesting thing in actors on screen here, movie stars here, you want them to kind of be sort of the same person in everything. Whereas the culture I come from, being an actor means you disappear into a character and you're a different person, you sound different and you look different and for different things. So I think it's a combination of all those things. I'm not like an accent genius by any means. I always having to go into the dubbing room and in the sound studios on the things I do to you know, cover up mistakes I've made on things. So, but I think that's the reason why.
What's the trick to an American accent?
It's not having any consonants.
Yeah, exactly. That's why. But that's why I think Americans have trouble doing accents for everybody else because everybody else has to tighten their is born with a tighter jaw and consonants, and Americans are just like.
I remember in The Good Wife, I had to say, it worked. I had to say it worked for Clinton. That's why I would say it. And Eli in The Good Wife said, it worked for Clinton. You're like, were there any consonants in that sentence? No. Clinton. I love Clinton. Hillary Clinton.
Exactly. One more right here.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hi. I've been so inspired by so much of what you've said today, and I've always looked up to you for wearing so many hats and being such a Renaissance man.
People tell you we look alike.
I'm sorry?
Do people tell you we look alike?
Yeah, I played the MC in Cabaret 2 years ago.
You did?
And I was called a poor excuse for you, so...
Ooh,
I think I look
Is that
too
in
much
an
like you
actual
to be a
review,
musical
or like
theater.
your friends were saying that?
It was an actual review, yeah. So it's been a blessing and a curse to look like you.
Sorry.
I've always looked up to you because of so many things that you do, and you're interested in so many art forms. And I'm similar in that way, and I sometimes feel like I'm spinning out of control, trying to do too much. And I just wonder if you have any advice for someone like me that wants to do a lot of different things.
I feel like that too sometimes. I multitask, and I just think you've got to have good order and good organization. And my thing is that, I have people to help me. I have an assistant, I have a manager, I have these, all that stuff. And I'm good at delegating, but mostly the things I do are about me. I make a lot of my own work as well as do lots of other things. And you've got other commitments like, doing things like this. I'm busy. But I think what you have to do is be incredibly focused. Just in whatever you're doing, be just focused and be in the moment. And it's a good sort of example of how I think you should act as well. Be incredibly in the moment. And then when it's over, you're on to the next thing. And then I find that doing so many different types of things is quite good for me too, because I feel that when I go on to the next thing, I'm refreshed and interested in it because I've been doing something different beforehand. So I think try and get a system where you don't spin out of control. But I feel like that sometimes. Like this, tomorrow I'm going on vacation, and I'm really glad to be because I've been on tour with my band. This book's coming out. There's a lot of stuff been going on, and also when you're traveling, the last couple of days I've had to come back from Washington and then back from upstate and travel, in a car at midnight and everything, and be like reading scripts and the thing. There's a lot, but there's a sort of an end in sight. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to have a break. So it's just about planning, I think. Just try and plan, and also be kind to yourself. If you're feeling that you're spinning out of control, just let some things go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan, I love having you here. I love talking to you. You're one of my favorite people to interview.
Oh, thanks, Rick. Yeah, thank you.
You make it so much fun. Honey and Leon Take the Road is on shelves now.
High
People
road.
can pick it up.
Take the high road.
What did I say?
Take the road.
I said take the high road.
No, you said take the road.
I missed high?
Yeah.
It's losing no
'Cause you're
consonants.
high.
No consonants. And Instinct is on CBS in June, returns in June.
June the 16th, yeah.
Alan Cumming, everybody.
Thank you
Let's
very
hear it.